Welcome to Your Business, Your Life with Matt DiFrancesco, your personal financial technician. Whether you've had years of success in your business or are just starting out, High Lift Financial can help you create a vision for your business, life, and family, and align these for generational wealth. So as they say, what happens in your life affects your business. And now, on to the show. Hello, and welcome to Your Business, Your Life with me, Matt DiFrancesco. One of the things that's really exciting about what I do is getting to meet smart and unique people. And I've got my guest today, really has got a interesting take on leadership and how to become a better leader. And so today I've got Luci Gabel. Now, Luci's an innovative leadership coach. She's a professor. She's an author. She's a speaker. She's probably 100 IQ points higher than me. So, but I mean, and she does leadership development and training, but she kind of takes a unique bent with it and looks at it more from the physical aspects, the mental and the emotional sides of it. I actually met Luci at the Exit Planning Institute. We were both recording a podcast for them, and I just kind of found her whole proposition very unique and something I think that's needed out there in the leadership community, because we talk about techniques and mindsets, but we never talk about how our physical and emotional and mental aspects, how they all tie together. So I think that's what Luci brings to the table here. And so I'm really excited to have her on. So Luci, welcome to Your Business, Your Life.
Of course, and thank you so much for having me, Matt. It's great to see you again.
Great to see you too. So, well, I like to start out I want to give you an opportunity to kind of let the audience know who you are and what you're about, how life kind of led you to this point.
Yeah, sure. Well, I've spent most of my life, 25-ish years, in leadership roles.
You started when you were 8, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not 30 yet. So, 5-star white glove spas and health clubs. And while I was accumulating this leadership experience running and owning these companies, I was also working with individuals and groups and teams on improving their health physically, whether it be losing weight or increasing their speed and power or winning races, reducing serious illnesses, things like that. So I've done both of these things in tandem. At the same time, I lived around the world in big cities like Seoul, South Korea, Honolulu, Hawaii, Washington, D.C., Silicon Valley, Los Angeles, Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
And before my career in leadership, I was educated in health. I was in the pre-med program, to be exact. And I worked as an exercise professional to pay for college. So I've had those certifications as well all of my life. And through my experience in business and with people being strongly aware of health, I started to see how the health of the leader and the people on the team and the health of the business are inextricably connected.
Right.
And I'll take it one step further. The decisions that you make as a leader, of course, we know they affect the health of your company, but they also affect the health of your team and your own health right down to your DNA. And I'm not exaggerating. You might have heard some things on this already, but I think that's an interesting place to start.
Oh, definitely. That is a good place to start, because I don't think that leaders always really understand how the physical aspect can affect their leadership ability. It was one thing I know when we were talking, I mentioned about my coach talks about this a lot, that sometimes, one part of your personal development program is probably maybe to lose weight or to get in better health. This just shows how healthy Luci is, because I said, oh, they go in order by number. And she's like, what's that? So she hasn't been to a fast food restaurant in a while, but ordering by number, where you're ordering the combo meal, and how detrimental that is. So let's talk a little bit about, how your nutrition, your physical health really can impact your leadership abilities, feeling bogged down or that, but from a physiological standpoint.
Well, we can start right at the surface and we can go deeper.
Okay.
Let's just talk about your physical health affects how you feel,
Right.
period. And when you don't feel good, you can't be your best at anything, right? I mean, and let's just take it one step further in terms of when you're sick. Do you feel like you can make the best decisions when you have a cold?
Right.
when your head is blocked up, But the same thing is for the rest of our body. We don't always feel like we have a cold or, the flu or whatever, but we know now that our gut microbiome is our second brain. We're literally calling it the second brain. And we have always said these things like, I have a gut feeling about something, right? It's the gut feeling is something in your body. Your body is expressing some, whatever it may be, wariness, concern, fear, excitement, that's our physiological feelings feeding our brain. So, just starting right there, you can see how the body talks to the brain, brain talks to the body, and that is who we come across as in our leadership role.
That makes complete sense. And I also know because my sister has been very involved with a holistic doctor for years, and how the gut really the central part of the physical aspects, and how, again, I think how that all communicates. But if we don't have our guts right, what are some of the ramifications as an entrepreneur or somebody's a leader that can really be setting them behind the eight ball?
Yeah, it does put us behind the eight ball when we're not taking care of ourselves physiologically. And we also talked about mental and emotional. So let's just go to the health of the business and the team and the leader. When we talk about health of a business, we often think ROI, profits, numbers, right? And then when we talk about people health, we think, okay, physical fitness may be something there, maybe not having a huge illness. And now we're finally thinking about mental health. That's coming into play, but it's kind of like secondary.
Right.
But we don't think about how they're all related. The health of the business starts with the leader, the leadership's decisions, who the leader is being when they're with people, how are they being motivated? How is the leader being motivated? And how are they motivating their teams? What's going on in their mental? It's not just mental health, it's how we speak to ourselves
Right.
that affect our productivity
Mhm.
and our motivation, our ability to work in general. And then how we speak to each other, which also affects that. And how does that affect the health of the company? Well, everyone's productivity, everybody's mood affects the health of the company, how they react and relate to your customers, but also how much productivity they're going to be able to put in every day, whether or not they want to call in sick on a regular basis because they just don't feel like coming in, or maybe they're so stressed that it's actually causing physical illness, which, by the way, we have now found that our stress levels absolutely do affect our health physically, and it affects our health down to the levels of the DNA. So our DNA, by the way, I'm sorry if I'm talking too much, but
No, 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 no. This is your moment to shine, Lucy.
okay. So our DNA is the blueprint of our cells. It's what the cells work off of
Mhm.
or use to replicate, right? When
Right.
our DNA is healthy, we make replications of healthy cells.
Mhm.
But if our DNA breaks down or changes in any way due to our environment, due to what we're doing to ourselves, then we start to get those replications, which are not as healthy. Maybe illness will start to set in or some damage will be done. And that's how we affect our aging. Literally, how you go through life and how you end up is affected by what we're doing right now.
Mhm.
So, what we eat, whether or not we exercise, how well we sleep, and whether we sleep enough,
Yeah.
including rest. Do you have enough restful time so that you can come down and actually sleep? All
Right.
these things affect our DNA. So does our stress. So do our relationship with others, our mindset, and our mood. All of
Wow.
these things affect our DNA, which affects our health and our ability to feel good.
Right. And one thing I kind of want to highlight here a little bit is the side of sleep, because I think that's one place where many people are deficient. I just saw a statistic somewhere, or I think I saw an Instagram post or something. They found out that people that take regular naps, like especially men, have a 68% less chance of having heart disease. And women, there was another high percentage of it. Let's talk a little bit about the effects of sleep and how that can work toward your favor, or a lack of sleep can be detrimental.
Of course. Yes, we've known about naps and mental health for a while now. There's also research about naps and avoiding dementia. It's one of those other ways you can avoid dementia besides exercising your brain, challenging it in healthy ways, and also sleeping and food,
And food,
what
right?
you eat. Yeah. When you're sleeping, your brain is actually flushing out beta amyloid proteins,
Hmm.
which are pretty much related to dementia. So
Oh,
as they accumulate in the brain, that's been correlated with dementia.
interesting.
And so we definitely want that, right? As leaders of our company, and most of us want to work as long as we can because we're passionate about it. And then when we're not working afterwards, we want to still be around for family and friends and fun, right? So we want
Right.
our brains to be working optimally for many reasons. And sleep is a very big part of that.
I think everybody knows that, but there's a lot of people, and especially entrepreneurs and business leaders, who struggle to get enough sleep, basically because you're busy. And
Mm.
like, we've got these projects done. And so we work, 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 work. And then, we're up to 11, 12 o'clock at night. And then we finally do lie down for a little bit, but we're up again at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. Or we've got these things weighing on our head that don't allow us to sleep properly. What are some strategies that a business leader can do to help combat these things?
Well, the first thing
And
is
I don't mean to give away all
perspective.
your secrets either. So,
Oh, I don't mind. You know what? It's funny. What I find with my clients and
Mhm.
even with myself, it's like you can hear things over and over again,
Right,
and it takes a while to have it really be part of you, right? So I
right.
don't mind saying my best stuff here this one time.
Okay. This one time, right.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
But first thing is perspective. We have
Mm,
to see sleep and rest in a different view. And I think what so many of us, even myself, had seen that as in the past is, I wish I didn't have to do that thing. It's an annoyance. I have to sleep or I got to take time off, which never happens also, right, for most
right,
people. But we shift our perspective to this is actually going to fuel my thinking. It's going to power my best decisions. Then you might want to do it better. And that's what I've seen. It takes a little bit of willpower to step out of the computer at a reasonable time at night so that your body and brain can calm down and
right.
then sleep because you need that time in between work and sleeping
Hmm.
to readjust. But then once you realize how much better your brain works on a full night of sleep, oh my gosh, you'll never go back. But you
Right.
have to try it first.
Yeah.
And then it's not about willpower. Then it's about the fact that you want to. And the same thing happens with taking breaks throughout the day. Every time I talk to someone about breaks throughout the day, I get a whole lot of pushback because I don't have an extra 5 minutes. Come on,
Right.
But we're really supposed to take 5 minutes in between every meeting
Mm,
for the brain to come down and not think about anything, basically, just zone out, for the brain to come down and absorb everything that you've gotten from that meeting, maybe take some notes, and also then to get it ready for the next whatever you're going to be doing. And
right.
we've also seen that sitting for long periods of time, some studies say more than 45 minutes, some say more than 3 hours, but that is basically turning down your cardiovascular system and doing your heart a lot of bad. So we need to get up off the desk and walk anyway, every
Right.
so often during work. Again, reframe that because when we give our brains breaks, that's when we get our intuition going. That's when we get our creativity going.
Right.
We have our breakthroughs during our breaks. It's like when you're on vacation, it's when you're in the shower, when you're in the bath, when you're taking a walk. So more of these are actually better for you.
Right. Yeah, oh, yeah, exactly. And if you'll notice, both Lucy and I are standing. I'm sure Lucy's doing it for the health reasons. I'm doing it because when I was started doing podcasting, my podcast coach says, I can tell when your energy level when you're sitting and when you're standing, because you have much better energy when you're standing. And I do, I bet 90% of my meetings standing up. I want to kind of pivot a little bit because I think, you talk about sleep, and a lot of people don't have an issue. They know they have to get healthy, so they join the gym, they're working out, but I think the area that most people struggle with is in nutrition. I have a guy I play tennis with in this league. Every morning, I'm driving. I see Tom running, and he's running every day, every day. And this guy is still like, you'd think he'd be thin as a rail, and he is not anywhere near. And my thinking is he's probably not doing the nutritional element. I mean, you can run and run and run or lift weights, all that stuff. But if you're not putting the right fuel in, and I've heard athletes say that 80% of it is the nutrition. they put in. Could you speak a little bit about that and how that affects this whole, not only just the physical, but the mental and emotional aspects?
Yeah, it is a lot about food, and I'm so glad you brought it up because I have this book.
That's us. See, I teed it up for you, baby.
Thank you. My book is called Eat to Lead, and this is where I talk about how food affects your performance as a leader. And I talk about the most important things that a leader should know and do today in terms of being a leader and how food is related to that. And that comes from my background. I have a nutrition degree as well, and my master's is in exercise physiology with nutrition and genetics. So I went back to school for those things though,
Hmm.
because when I was in my leadership roles, I had the background already, small background of education that I thought I was using, and I had some certifications, but I just still couldn't figure it out. You know, I was having all the same issues that so many people have when they have roles where they need to be high performing and on all the time and always working with people and dealing, putting out fires, etc. And you start to break down. But I thought I was doing it all right. I was still exercising. I thought I was eating right. Sleeping so-so, but I was high stressed, and that doesn't allow for good sleep most of the time. And I also just figured out after going back to school that I wasn't eating right. I wasn't eating food that was allowing me to rest at night and wake up in the morning. I mean, what we put in immediately affects how we feel. You know that after you eat a meal, you feel a certain way.
Right.
And if we know a little more about how that works, we can make better decisions. So when you said food 80%, I don't know if that's an actual research number, 80%
Yeah,
of,
I don't know if that's, I'm
but
not,
it
I'm
is.
just quoting what I've heard athletes say.
I've
Yeah.
heard it too. I've heard it too. But what I will say is it is a very big piece. And the most important part, I mean, there's very high level lessons that you can take out of this book. One of them is that fruits and vegetables are the most important part
Right.
of your diet, and you need to get them in their most natural form.
You mean the
Um,
carnivore diet isn't the way to go?
Sorry, no.
Thank you. Thank
But
you. I
anyway,
hope my wife listens to this podcast. Okay.
sorry, but
Okay.
yeah, most diets are just not the way to go.
Right.
Most diets are for money for whoever's promoting them, whoever's
Right.
making them, and putting out those pages that you're downloading and those workouts that you're doing, and everything else that you're watching and buying from those diets. They're getting rich and they're laughing all the way to the bank.
Correct.
Unfortunately.
That's right.
And I've been in the industry long enough now because I was experimenting with diets when I was in high school. I've
Uh,
watched them, and I've watched them come around again and around it again, and they just have different names, but they cycle. So I know how they don't work. I know why they do work. They do work,
right.
but they're never something you want to stay on for the rest of your life. They're always something that you just really want to lose the weight with, and then you I'll figure it out after we're done what I'm going to do next. But everybody gets done with a diet still confused over how to
Right.
eat, and usually goes back to what they were doing before. And that's why we balloon out and then we gain more weight than we had before. Why
Mm.
is that? Well, because you've just trained your body to survive on a much lower calorie amount of food. And now it doesn't know what to do with the rest of these calories, so it's got to
Right.
go into body fat. Back to the food, it's so important. If you're already eating more fruits and vegetables, which, by the way, if any diet works, that is why.
Right.
Most of them include much more fruit and vegetables. Whether they count, like, ask you not to eat a certain kind or not, that's really not the point. It's
Right.
that there is usually more, and what they do is they increase the nutrients because fruit and vegetables have the most nutrient value of any food you can choose,
Mhm.
and that powers your body and your brain. And it also decreases the calories because they have the lowest amount of calories. They have a high amount of fiber and water that goes right through you, has no calories. And so you're eating more, but you're ingesting less calories and you feel
Right.
better.
Right. Yep. That's, you know what? And that's common sense. Actually, I did Noom a couple years ago, and that's all it was. And, it really was just about you monitored your calories, and they had the food groups, and like the green was usually vegetables. And they just said, because again, they have lots of fiber, water, so they'll fill you more. To me, that's all just common sense. So I'm going to, again, just kind of little shift of gears here. So here I am, I'm a business leader. Okay. And I'm managing my people and my clients, things like that. So why should I come to you?
Because you want to go to the next level of performance in your career and basically your leadership. So it could be a career, it could be your business, but it's basically your leadership. And leadership extends in a lot of directions, as you know.
Mhm.
I
Right.
mean, you could be a business leader in terms of having a team. You're a leader if you have customers because they look to you for leadership. You're also a leader if you have patients or clients. You're also a leader at home
Home.
and
Yeah, I
in
was going to
social
say home. Right.
situations. Yeah.
Mhm.
And when we want to be a leader, because we decide at different times if we want to take on that role or let someone else do it, right?
Right.
When we want to take on that role, it's best to know how to do it best. And it's also best to know how to fuel yourself with all of these things we've been talking about. So, food, yes, but also sleep, but also having some movement in your life. How do you support yourself in the background so
Right.
you can be the strongest leader in the foreground? And then in the foreground, that emotional part is when we get into that. So, who am I being? Now I feel great. Who am I being now? How do I have skills around my communication with others, around controlling my emotions to the way that I want to control them? So I know
Mhm.
that I have them. Now, what do I do with them? With other people, with myself? How am I thinking about situations? Do I have the optimal mindset?
Right.
All of these are who you're presenting as in terms of leadership.
Okay, that's great. So you're offering some new programs too. So I want to give you a chance to kind of promote those and let people know what they're about and why they should do it.
Thank you. My biggest program right now is called Leadership Optimal Performance, and that's got all of these factors in it. So
Okay.
we pick one of these areas to work on and speak about every other week. We come together as a group on a meeting. We discuss. What did we address? How did we address it? Pros and cons. What did we learn? How are we going to do it differently? And even though we all don't have a conversation at the same time, everybody's experience helps everybody else.
Right.
So you might not be dealing with something in that area at the time, but you hear someone else's story. You might have something to add to it to help them, or you just might learn something from what they've gone through. But what I find also is that as leaders, it can be really lonely.
Yeah.
It's not a lie that it's lonely at the top, right?
Hmm.
Because you have to be things and think a certain way that a lot of people don't. And then you also have to bring them along. It's really nice to have camaraderie and other people who you can talk to and work on yourself with, because
Right.
all of us aren't always working on ourselves either, right? It's just nice to have that group is also been proven beneficial that when we're working on ourselves and other people around you are also working on the same thing, you go further.
Yeah. Well, you have that support. It's not just moral support. You have people that are going through the same challenges. You share this commonality. I think that helps to create kind of team aspect even in what you're doing.
Yep, support, but also you don't feel so alone. I mean, how many times in your leadership role do you think something and it feels like you're the only one that thinks this way or that has
Right.
this problem, right? But then you finally get to talk to someone kind of on your level and it
Right.
feels so nice. It's almost like there's a lot of pressure that's released when you know you're not the only one.
Oh, yes. Isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? I think too many times we think we're the lone soldiers out. They always say that about problems is that, if we all had a hat and put all of our problems into it and mixed it up and then you pulled one out, you'd realize first, either you're not the only one with problems, or second, you wish you had yours back. Right.
Oh, yes.
So again, when you're working as a team together, if you're struggling, whether it's nutritionally, whether it's with exercise, any of those things, I think as a team, you're going to realize that there's other people that are struggling with that too. And now you can help uplift each other.
Yeah.
So,
So The other thing I want to say about this, and your listeners can take this home with them, but the best way to reach any goal in terms of lifestyle change, habit change, self change is small steps that easily fit into your life. So I think people might say, oh, wow, I don't want to join this group. It sounds like they've got a lot going on. I don't have the energy for that and I don't have the time.
Right, right.
But you get to pick your smallest step and just make that little simple change. That has actually been proven through research to be the way to make long-term change. So no fear.
That's great. That's great. So it's so funny. I'm looking at the timer. I'm going, oh my God, where the heck did the time go? So, I mean, it just flew
Thanks.
by. And I think,
Yeah.
just a wealth of information. And maybe, possibly later on, we can have you back on to kind of dive into these topics deeper. But I do want to give you the opportunity to let people know where they can find you and also how to get your book. I mean, I
Oh,
got
thank
mine.
you.
Luckily, Lucy signed it for me. So, and I think it's a great resource, but let the people know how they can get in touch with you and how can they get the book.
Sure. Well, my website is lucigabel.com, and I'm sure you'll put that somewhere,
It's all going to
Matt.
be in
It's
the
probably
show
on the
notes.
title.
I give you a chance to promote this stuff, but yeah, this
It's
will
on
be in
my
the show
website.
notes. Yeah.
Yeah, lucigabel.com. And the book is at e2lead.com.
Mm.
It's also on Amazon. It's at Barnes and Noble. And if you want a signed copy, though, you should go to E2Lead. Also, you can download the first chapter for free at
Oh,
E2Lead if you want. And I've got a great group on my email list on both either Lucy Gabel or E2Lead. E2Lead is about food. You can
right.
get some reminders a couple times a month, like huge emailer in that way. And also lucigabel.com, I send out information on being a well-balanced, healthy leader.
That's great. I think that's fantastic. And to be honest with you, I think this part of leadership that you serve is underserved out there. And I mean, we got plenty of performance coaches and everything like that, but we forget about, well, how about taking care of ourselves too? So I really appreciate what you do out there, Lucy. Anything else you want to just share here while we're closing out?
You gave me enough time to share. I really
Okay.
appreciate it, Matt.
That's
Thank you so
that's no
much.
problem. Well, I value what you do and want to see people start tying into you. So, Lucy, I really appreciate you being on. The last thanks always goes to you, the audience. Thank you from me for your business, your life. If you've not subscribed to the podcast, please click the subscribe button below. That way, when a new episode appears, it'll download directly to your device. If you're watching us on YouTube, please give us a 5-star review. That way, we'll be able to get out to more people to get them, the information, like the great stuff that Lucy's doing out there, out to more people. So with that, again, Lucy, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. I'd love to have you on again to kind of dive deeper. And because my hobby, I guess, I love like nutrition and exercise, physiology, all that kind of stuff. Being I guess for lack of a better term, wannabe athlete,
Awesome. That's
you
the
know,
best.
I could talk about this stuff for hours. I think that's why the time flew so fast. So,
Yeah,
but
excellent. Well, if you're going to have a hobby, you might as well be an athlete. That's
that's
one of the best
I'm with
hobbies to
you.
have.
I'm with you, and I'm all into kicking people's butts out there in the tennis court. So,
Awesome, Matt.
all right. So,
Okay, I'll see you
thank
again.
you, audience, and take care. God bless. We'll see you all next time. Hey, I really want to thank you for listening to the Your Business, Your Life podcast. If you want to be notified when new episodes become available, click the subscribe button below.
The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of High Lift Financial. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investment, legal, or tax advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified professional with any questions you may have regarding your business or personal planning. DiFrancesco Financial Concierge, LLC, DBA High Lift Financial, is a registered investment advisor. Registration with the United States Securities and Exchange Commission or any state security authority does not imply a certain level of skill or training.